Hello and welcome to Hidden Existence, and it's Anything Goes, number 9. With me, as always, my co-host Jason. How are you doing, Jason?
So far so good. Cannot complain.
Good. And our guest tonight, I'm quite excited about this because this is my friend all the way from like a couple of miles up the road. It's George Adams. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing grand, thank you. How are you, Daniela?
I'm good. I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad you're here tonight because I know a lot about you, but we're going to now share, hopefully going to share with people watching lots about you, because you're a very interesting person to me with lots of sides to you, lots of interests, lots of amazing things that you do. I know. You pay me later. So why don't you start with what you do, you know?
Well,
who is George Adams?
I think after that introduction, Daniela, I might have to kind of just live it down a wee bit, maybe.
Okay, fair enough.
But hey, who knows? Who knows?
I don't think so.
What do I do? Well, I'm a dancer. That's the main thing that I kind of work and do. Mainly, I've been dancing for 20 years, and I'm still dancing now, which is I feel blessed to be doing.
I'm just going to show a few pictures while you.
Oh wow!
There it goes. There's some pictures. Yeah, this one was a few years ago.
So you do modern dance now. You started with ballet and.
Yeah, mainly modern dance now. So I kind of choreograph dance shows and dance in them. But I over the last few years, I've really taken to working with people with specific needs. So I work a lot with people with physical impairments and learning difficulties in kind of getting them to be professional dance or work in professional dance, because the training is can be quite elitist sometimes. And so I've been doing a lot of that recently, and I've made my own show about kind of being spooky, which is kind of on tour in 2021. So I look forward to kind of doing that if we're allowed. If we're allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Well, when you say spooky, what do you mean by spooky?
Well, spooky. Well, I've always been involved in. I had an interest in paganism, and I'm a pagan myself, and I've always had an interest in the occult and things like that. And religion. I was brought up lots of different religions. My mother was Jehovah's Witness for a short time. My father was a Catholic, and I was brought up in a Protestant surroundings. And then I chose my own religion, and I went to India and studied yogic philosophy and things like that. And I've always had a really interest in this area. And someone said, "Why don't you put it in a show? Why don't you make a spooky show about it?" So a passion of mine is tarot cards, and so I decided to do a show about the tarot where I dance and tell the audience their future.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen the tarot cards as particularly spooky, but I think that's an interesting concept. So for some who probably don't know, and those who know but are know the differences. So you say pagan. Are you more the sort of neo-pagan tradition? Are you more of a druidic persuasion? Where are we coming from on that?
Well, I would say I'm Wiccan. I've been practicing Wicca for a long time. So I guess that is a neo-paganism religion that was first set up at the beginning of the first half of the 20th century, and then made famous by a civil servant here in the UK called Gerald Gardner. But
yeah,
I believe he got a lot of their philosophies from Druidism, and there was a lot of influence from the Golden Dawn and the Fraternity of Light and Aleister Crowley and such things. And the head of the British Library at the time was obviously in these Hermetic orders. And so back then the religion was established, but I think in terms of its roots, it goes back thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I find it a really beautiful religion, to worship nature, and to, and it's very related to a lot of the, the Eastern religions, like
right,
particularly Hinduism and and I guess even parts of Shintoism and things like that as well.
Like you say, Jason, people, there's many sort of sides to paganism, isn't it? It's not just one thing. And people,
exactly.
People can get misled a little bit, or kind of think that it's just about the dark side, the occult, spells and stuff like that. And it's not really about that, is it? Like you say, well, give us some examples of kind of things that you do then as a Wiccan.
I think one of the things that I think brings a lot of joy into my life is to look at find divinity, as in God, or however you perceive God to be, within its creation. So in the flowers and the animals, in this changing of the seasons. And I guess in Wicca we do that by following eight festivals through the year, which is very related to actually my background and where I'm from in Scotland and Ireland. These would have been ancient practices that my ancestors who were farmers and things would have been practicing, and that's evident when we look at places like Newgrange in Ireland and the stone circles near Aberdeenshire and whatnot. But so I think, getting back to your question of like what I would do, one thing that I think makes one kind of Wiccan or pagan or helps to it, is my opinion, is to kind of have this intrinsic connection with the cycles of life and the cycles of animals and plants, and get to know them and get to know how they can bring kind of blessings and joy into your life. I'd say that was my main thing, but I guess there's the rules and regulations with all faiths, isn't there? So just whoever it's coming from, I guess, is the important thing.
Right. It's the tradition you come out of. And again, the reason I asked is because there's sort of this, there are ways of trying to go back to sort of older Germanic traditions, but like you said, you're more of you're Wiccan, which is more of a fusionist religion or a fusionist viewpoint than, say, going back and trying to pull up some of the older Norse religions and traditions. Yours is more of a modern Wicca is more of a fusion of a lot of different beliefs.
Well, I guess a lot of religions are a fusion. I mean, when you think that Christianity came from Judaism, and then Judaism, in the Quran, and also as part of kind of Judaism, and that when you look at religions in their true context and like where they came from, I guess it is all a gathering of lots of different things, and it's who decides it at the time. I mean, King James, the first of England and the fifth of Scotland, I mean, he just changed the Bible altogether in the 16th century. So I guess it's where it's coming from, and I guess, in my opinion, I think all religions are formulated from kind of someone's idea of them, but faith itself comes from within.
Well, no. I mean, absolutely. I mean, everything's an ever-growing tradition. In fact, it's one of the things we were talking about this morning. Is things are growing. They grow out of certain traditions, certain thoughts. One of the things we talked about this morning was there is no such thing. There is no translation. There's only ever interpretation. But it's one of the things where it's really so people kind of understand where you're coming from, right? And I think that's one of those things people sort of miss, is trying to understand where someone's coming from, what sort of context does someone bring to a conversation, right? Because if you don't understand what somebody means when they say or when they make a statement, then you're not really communicating. If you're not communicating, then there's no forward progress, and then there's just conflict, and conflict is never really a productive enterprise.
Yes, I think exactly.
Unless you make money selling guns, I mean, then it's a productive enterprise. But I'm entitled, so yeah, it doesn't do me any good.
I remember, it sounds a bit tacky and a bit kind of natural, simplistic, but I remember many years ago someone telling me, if however you believe in divinity or the divine, whether you're a Hindu or Buddhist, a Sikh, a Christian or whatever, that if you imagine like kind of God or God's form or whatever you want to call it, supreme consciousness is a big diamond, and every face of that diamond could be a different faith or religion. And there's no kind of one way to kind of find, divinity in that way. And I kind of try to live like that, because what's the point in saying that you're right over something that you believe in when it's surely just your belief? It doesn't make any sense, really, does it? Yeah, so it's and I have that fight. I have to have that kind of. I want to say conflict because a lot of people don't have. I don't think the media portrays Wiccans in a very good way, and I don't think they ever have. Really, to be fair.
Well, to be fair, I don't think the media portrays anyone very well. But
well, that's true.
I mean, that's how they make their money, right? If it bleeds, it leads. It's like, who was it? It's he's a Jewish commentator. He actually points out, he's like, religion in most media is played as almost exclusively evil, regardless of what religion it is. It's like, I think that's sort of the bigger problem is the media, regardless of really where you are, it doesn't do a job of portraying reality or explaining art. It seems to want to fuel conflict rather than understanding. I think that's a terrible thing, because if we don't understand one another, we can't. Again, it ends up in conflict, and that's a terrible, terrible thing.
I guess in a way it does, the media can fuel conflict, and it does that a lot. And it's something a friend said to mine, I can't remember who it was. This isn't very good information I'm giving you, maybe, who knows. But about if there's a peaceful protest, somewhere, mm-hmm. then the media turn up. If there's a couple of people in that there's maybe hundreds of them who are peacefully protesting, but a couple of people, decide to cause maybe a little bit of trouble. Where are you going to face the camera? You're not going to face the camera at the many people who are peacefully protesting, because it's not good news, is it? Whereas you want to face the camera to the people who have caused a little bit of maybe trouble or whatever. And that gets the news, doesn't it? So.
Oh, exactly. Well, and actually something I've seen personally is when you have like a protest and it's like 10 people, right? And there's like 50,000 people in a convention center for whatever reason. They will sit there and they'll actually crop the shot. So you think there's like 100,000 people, and they're like protesters swarmed the Civic Center today, and then you pan out and you're like, it's 10 people. Like, what? Why are we even talking about this? Like, sure, let them go up and protest, but why are we making a big deal of 10 people at a protest? Because it served a purpose. It's not about telling you objectively, or as objectively as any human can, what occurred. It's about creating narratives that promote conflict, that promote the feelings of fear, that promote antagonism towards people instead of trying to understand.
So do you think they're not just trying to sell the papers, or do you think they're deliberately trying to cause conflict? And to what end?
I would say yes. I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I cannot talk today. I swear, it's been like this all day. I don't think those are mutually exclusive concepts. Personally, I think they go hand in hand.
It's just when are we going to learn that these tabloids, magazines, it's just clickbait, all of it, isn't it? And there's nothing. Some of it's not. But it is.
No, it absolutely is.
We're drawn into these stories that are just not being told in the way they should be. Maybe not even a grain of truth.
Yeah.
Half of the time in them. Let's go back to a bit about religion. Something that I want to ask you both is why can't it be a personal thing, and why do people who have strong beliefs need to judge other people on what they believe in? Not because you two do that, but you must see that some people are quite heavy in trying to put their views on you when you don't want to know, when you're not interested. Why is it not looked at like the same as, I've used this example before, if I'm a non-smoker, don't offer me cigarettes. And that's how I look at some subjects, religion and other things like that, when you're trying to have a conversation about something, and religion's brought into it, when to me a lot of things shouldn't be based on religion. I don't need a religion to be moral and know what's right and wrong. So I don't know why we can't live our lives and put in religion. If that's a belief you have it to yourself. not saying not to just not, you can express it, but do you know where I'm going with this? Anybody help?
I think I do. Yeah, I think I'll maybe catch that end of it there. I'm winding you up, Daniela. So why do people feel that they need to kind of either let you know their beliefs, or maybe try to convert you in some way, or to try and kind of guide you in some kind of direction to divinity? I guess it's kind of like human nature, isn't it, to want to help. And actually, when you are trying to help, it's often not the thing that someone needs at that time. In terms of, like, from a therapeutic perspective, I would say that the person wants to be heard, and they want to kind of find their own way. And actually, you go and, oh, do you know what? Do you know what really helps me? This will really help you, and trying to, kind of put a plaster on it or be the kind of gallant knight. But I think actually it's just in our nature to kind of want to help, and actually in the wanting to help, it doesn't really help.
Yes. No. I think George is saying exactly. What's funny is I think he's going the same direction I was, which is, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's religion or non-religion. It does seem that people want to push it. Like you said, it's because ultimately they're trying to help from their perspective, right? I mean, it's funny that we have a term for radical atheists, and it's like they're just as religious as anyone else. Actually, I think I just lost who said it. I think it was Albo X who said over here, and I think it was perfectly well said. He said, religion is organized, but faith is personal, right? And it's one of those things where, like you said, I think the problem is we do want to help. And so I think that's sort of at the core of why everyone wants to sort of have that expressed and say, this is what helped me, this is what I do. It's sort of based on that, but I do think there is also a level of, some people need to have their experiences or their worldview justified externally by other people agreeing with them. And let's take it off of religion for 2 seconds, and let's talk about Bigfoot, right? How often do we see people, ranting and raving and screaming about their, if you have a different view on something like Bigfoot? It's why, because they need to have they want to have their worldview justified and validated externally by other people. And so it's that I think the conflict is driven by a need for external validation. Again, I think George and I are probably not going to agree on a whole lot of things religiously, but I think we'd have an amazing conversation, because neither of us really wants to change anyone. What we want to do is be understood. And I think those are two different perspectives. I said several times in this morning's broadcast, which was, I've never asked anyone to believe anything I've ever said. What I want you to do, all I've ever asked for is people to understand why I've come to the conclusions I have, so we can have an intelligent conversation about it. If you disagree, that's great. I don't believe God's ever going to ask me at the end of time, Jason, did you make someone believe something else? No, that's not a question I'm ever going to be asked. It's, did you do what I asked you to do? Okay, those are two different things. I can't be responsible for any other person's behavior or belief. I can state why I do what I do. I can state what perhaps my beliefs are that are good and, in helping people, what makes the world a better place. I can advocate for those things, but I certainly will never be held to making someone do that. But I think a lot of people have that desire to try and enforce their viewpoint as a form of external validation, right? It's like, if you can't willingly do it, if you're not going to willingly, recommend, follow my recommendations, then I must enforce it. And it doesn't matter if you're atheist or Christian or neo-pagan or Hindu or Buddhist. Everyone wants to enforce their beliefs on other people because they want that external validation. It's a human issue. I don't think it's a religion issue at all, or a philosophical issue. It's a human issue.
It's just crazy that you're all kind of looking for the same thing, yet there's so much conflict in between it all. So I don't know.
Again, there's conflict in human nature. We are beings. I think Tolkien actually, he really kind of nailed it in the opening of Lord of the Rings, where he talks about, when they're handing out the rings. I know I've used this before, but he says, when it gets to the humans, it says, humans who desire power above all else, right? Like that seems to be sort of a very driving, motivating force in the lives of humans. Is we want power, and that means power over someone else's life. You know, part of I've got kids. One of the first things you have to do is train them to work well with others, right? To recognize that other people exist, that someone else's needs are can either be equal to and therefore respected, or may even from time to time require primacy over your desires. That's just not something that comes naturally to us. It's something we have to train.
Well, George, let's go back to you're into herbalism as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
You obviously, respect mother nature and the things that she gives us, and you make some amazing potions and lotions. You've done some. My best face cream ever is yours, frankincense and rose. Honestly, it is the best face cream.
I don't
ever.
sell them, by the way. No.
Don't sell them, just Christmas gifts. But I wanted to ask you this, and it's a Bigfoot question actually. Is if Bigfoot, to survive, what would be the best sort of 5 herbs, roots that he would want to eat to survive, to give the best kind of immunity?
To keep the kind of the form healthy and vigorous and going and strong. Well, I guess that would depend a little bit where you were in the world, and the climate and the temperature. But I'd say there's a lot of common, what people would regard as weeds that hold a lot of nutritious value. So, for example, there's a kind of grain called fat hen in the Neolithic period in 6,000 years ago. Many people ate that. It's quite has a lot of protein in it, has a lot of essential minerals. And then I guess something like nettles, actually, even though nettles are kind of a bit hard to touch at first, they have, potassium and phosphorus and vitamin K and vitamin C. They've got fiber in them. There's so many. So I'd say nettles would probably be a good thing to live on. And I guess if you had quite hard skin or harder skin on the mouth, or you just kind of put them in water, it would take away the uleic acid thing. And then I would say that berries and nuts, obviously, like some fruit trees, depending on the season. So, a lot of nuts would have a lot of, they have fat, of course, for storing over the winter. Berries, vitamins and minerals, and again, sugars are needed. So hawthorn berries would be quite good because it's more like a kind of vegetable. And do you need any more?
Okay.
Is that enough?
No. Okay, I want to go back to the nettles thing for a moment, because I know that nettles have been used in a lot of things over the centuries. So, with nettles, do they need to be boiled down or cooked down to really be useful, or can you just do it straight?
It depends which part of the plant you're using. So usually if you're using the nettle leaves, then they would be before the beginning of summer, because they get a bit hard when they start to flower. And they would be used in pretty much how you would use spinach, in kind of that way. The root can be harvested as well, and also the seeds. The seeds are particularly good for prostate issues with men and things like that. So.
I
Interesting.
think same with lots of things. When the tender is the best time to have them, isn't it?
The leaves,
the wild garlic leaves, you pick them tender, young. They're just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're really, really tasty.
Yeah, chop them up and put them in meat loaf or something. I don't know, but they are beautiful.
Garlic leaves, or is it just the leaves off the garlic plant? Or
wild garlic. Yeah, with wild garlic.
Ransons. Yeah, I think they're called ransons.
Are they called ransons? Well before they flower, you pick those tiny little leaves, and the flavour's just amazing. Put it in soup, into salads, into whatever. And
I make a pesto. I make a nice pesto with wild garlic.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Nice. You've
Yeah,
made
Mother Nature has all of our gifts as the people's medicine at the end of the day. You know, it's not run by big pharma. So if you know, and it's medicine that we have all available in the back of our gardens, you know, like we can, and it's pretty much free if you know how to use it. And I think that's something you know, supermarkets and capitalist world and everything that we live in has taken us so far away from nature. A lot of young people I work with, you couldn't tell you what a carrot plant looked like, or, you know, but actually after a while, take them into the allotment, show them the plants and things. You know, the connection with nature, and I think the more you connect with it, the more gifts it has to offer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So people can make their own. What did you make? The Hawthorne syrup. That I couldn't stop drinking. Do you remember?
I'm thinking the one that you left, or you liked, or the syrup, was it sweet? Was it?
It was really sweet, and he just gave me a bit to try, and I just kept drinking this syrup.
It's rose hip syrup. Is it not
the rose hip, yeah, the rose hip,
yeah,
syrup, that was. It was almost a bit like Tabasco. It was like spicy. You put something in it.
Put some cinnamon in it, and have it with pancakes.
Oh, actually, that sounds good.
I know in the US, you know, I've only been to the US once, and I went to New York actually to dance, and I'd like to go back. When I'm hoping one day I could go back to the US, because a friend of mine's just taken over as artistic director of a company in New York. And I'd like to go to kind of different places in America. But anyway, I went over to America to go over and dance. I can't remember what the conversation. What were we just saying there? Oh, the syrup. Yeah, and I always wanted pancakes with like syrup and bacon, you know, because I'd seen it on telly. I'd made it. I'd made it over here in the UK, but it was like wasn't the same. So then, when I was in New York, I was eating. Luckily, I was dancing, but I was eating pancakes, bacon, and maple syrup almost every day.
Oh wow!
In the mornings, yeah. Like I was like just because I went to the supermarket and they were like, "Here's the syrup," and I was like, "Jesus, that's like a bucket." You know, like we have syrup. We have syrup like this. You know, it's like a wee tin. You just squeeze it like that, and our pancakes are little things as well. And we get in rations and the bacon. In America, when I was in New York, they gave me this is the bacon. It had like 50 rations in it, so I had to eat the whole thing. I had to eat everything.
No, bacon is you don't mess with bacon in America. But okay, real quick question. Now we're back to food. Why has all of our shows been about food lately? Bacon, where y'all live, I saw the only reason this evening comes to mind is I remember there was a Doctor Who when they introduced the Matt Smith Doctor Who. They showed her frying up bacon, and it looked like for me what we would call just ham. Like it's not like bacon for us is a stripe. Yeah,
our bacon's thin. Very thin.
Is it like strips or is it? Yeah.
Well, we can have it in strips. They're called streaky. That's called streaky bacon, and then you can have like the back bacon, which is the back bit. So you get
all you vegetarians out there.
That bit shape with a bit of fat on the end. But any thicker, we call it gammon. We call it a gammon steak. Bacon should be thin. You know, I can show you our bacon if you want. I've got streaky. I now
need to know. I need to know what your bacon looks like. I really do. Well, so here we have so when you're ordering, like first of all, I love all pizza, but I love pineapple and Canadian bacon on pizza. Like I know some people have this. I'm like, just don't even start with me. But pineapple and Canadian bacon. But for me, it's like just ham. Like, it really is just like sliced up ham. That's all it is. And a friend of mine actually came from who is actually Canadian. We were talking to him, and we're like, by the way, what do you call Canadian bacon in Canada? He goes, ham. She's like, just call it bacon. Like it's this unique cut. So now I'm wondering, what does your bacon look like? I need to know this now.
I'm gonna go get the bacon.
Go get the bacon, Daniela. We'll talk about something else. Okay. Hi, George.
We have a lot of different types of bacon.
No, there's a bunch of different types of bacon. Like again, there's thick cut, thin cut, but yeah, our bacon is very so. Okay, real quick, interesting story. This is the weirdest thing I know about bacon. In the 1920s, it was actually Freud's nephew who sort of developed this mentality about he was really big on things like propaganda and trying to figure out how to control people through advertising, right? And so he used a lot of his uncle's thoughts, and he was trying to turn them into like how to use advertising in a way that changed how people, to really control whole populations buying, buying practices. And one of them, and it's like when you sort of explore what this guy did, it really becomes very, very scary, because you're like, there's so many things I grew up with that I'm like just came straight out of this guy's behavior. But one of the things was early on was that they came to him and they said, hey, the bacon, the pork industry, the bacon industry is like, we kind of need something to spruce up their sales. And they said, turkey is Thanksgiving and Christmas, and here's this. Like, how do we promote bacon? He actually commissioned a study, and the entire phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was coined by him. And they would pay doctors to say that and to show a picture of toast, bacon, and eggs. Because everyone already had eggs, and they were already, basically most people just already ate toast. They're like, no. Bacon, they're like, it's the most important meal of the day, so you need that protein. And so it wasn't that he came up with this idea of advertising for bacon. It was changing the idea where it's like, you weren't telling them to buy bacon. You were telling them breakfast was the most important meal of the day, and you need bacon. Okay, that looks like bacon. That's the bacon we have here. That looks like bacon. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's outdoor bred bacon, Daniela.
It is. It is organic, free range.
I don't like unhappy pigs. You need the pigs to be happy.
These
why eat unhappy animals? That's my view. I mean, why ever eat an unhappy animal? They're not going to taste good that way.
Yeah, but that's
always be happy.
Well, then you'd have to kill one, not with it not knowing it was going to die. Because how do those animals feel when they're going for the kill in those factories that are just lining them up one by one to kill them? I mean, the fear. It's not a good. You guys have it different over there. You go out hunt. Yeah, if you do that, great. The animal's not going to know what's happened to it. But like you say, who wants to eat stressed meat? Because it has to be stressed. I don't want to, put it down on people who are meat lovers, but there is a horrible side to the meat industry.
Yeah, it's not good for the planet. It's really bad for the planet. I mean, I was vegetarian. I can't speak now because I eat all sorts of things. I eat anything really, but I was vegetarian for 5 years and kind of mostly vegan for part of that. And it was because I didn't like the way that the planet was being destroyed by all of the meat production. But yeah, I can't. Like I say, I can't talk now because I eat pretty much anything. I might even eat a person if I had to. I'm joking.
I'm joking. No. Let's be honest. It gets cold enough. We're measuring up somebody. That being said, though, I mean, so there is, and I think this is one of those things that we don't often really consider, right? Which is, I think a lot of people are like, no, there's no reason not to be more humane with a lot of these practices, right? It's not that there isn't a need for certain things, but we should always be looking for the most humane form of doing anything that, and it's, I think that's often something we don't fully appreciate is like, hey, a lot of the traditional ways of doing certain things are far more humane, right, than what the modern world has come up with. And it's like, well, maybe we need to look back and say, hey, how do we adapt those to mass production? Let's be as humane as possible. Again, free range, happy cows, happy chickens, happy pigs. But then, and let's find the appropriate way to butcher them. Again, so I'm in Texas, right? I know what a cow is. I laugh only because we were talking about how earlier people were separated from the earth, and I was thinking about there are zoos that have like cattle and as part of their displays, and I'm like, the exotic cow, like what? But of course, it's because I'm here in Texas. I know what a cow looks like, but I know people who, they have their own independent sort of butchers, and they do that. They have a more traditional slaughtering method that is that's, they do this thing with the okay. I'm going to try not to be grotesque, but it's like a shaft, right? And if you do it right, it's instant. No, but the thing doesn't even know what's happened to it, but they're not lined up. They can't see what's about to happen. It is very, very humane. And it's like, we really kind of need to go back a step to doing things more in a humane way, where they're being raised in a more humane way. They're being slaughtered in a humane way because, they have value. So
this is I agree, Max Powers. Second, we mass produce things, the more damage we do. We need to go back to getting our foods locally farmed and grow, and it will improve the planet and our overall health. I think we should shop with local independent people. Just these supermarkets that have to supply the demand, for cheap food, cheap chicken, cheap meat, and the quality is going. The quality you have to lose something, and it's going to be the quality of that meat, whatever you say, at that level, at that cheapness. It just doesn't seem right, and we're putting this stuff in our bodies. How much do we respect, unless you live at McDonald's every day, you obviously don't care what you put in your system. But if you do, then shop locally.
Yeah, no. I think there's always a middle way for everything, right? There's always a way to do sort of everything. The problem is there's so much. A lot of restriction and regulation is actually what kills the individual entrepreneur, the individual to go and do those things, right? So again, there's, unfortunately, this is one of those things that goes back to systems, right? If in control, if we allowed people to actually if we really practice laissez-faire capitalism, a lot of this would solve itself, because that's the whole point, is it gives the power back to the person who's buying things to have the say. And instead of what we fail to understand is how much governmental regulation is there to actually put people out of business, right? It is there to restrict who's actually doing business and restrict who has access to it, which is why it's like there was a study done. They said that there was 2,000, at least here in the US, 2,000 different pages of regulations that applied to the growing, harvesting, and shipping of a cabbage. 2,000 pages. That's longer than my Bible with its concordance and archaeological perspectives and all the. It's like, it's a cabbage. Please tell me why it needs 2,000 pages of regulations. Like, there should be some degree of regulation. I'm all for regulation as long as it's applicable and it actually benefits people. But the problem is we're creating these rules that are actually preventing people from coming and bringing to market things like this, where it's like, maybe I want to go drink milk that's pasteurized. Thank you. I don't know why you would, but some people they're like, hey, I want to drink go drink unpasteurized milk. I don't care, right? If that's your thing, go have fun. But the thing is, it's about bringing power back to the people, and I think that's the problem. Is we get caught up in party lines, or we get caught up in some of these higher ideologies. We're sort of missing the plan. It's like, no. If you really want power to the people, then what we want is government getting out of the way, these regulations getting out of the way. So it's like, let's have the government that's useful, that actually does things, but then let's let the people make up their minds, right? If you want to, it's like, I don't care if you're a vegan, go be vegan. Like, it's sort of like the religion thing. It's like, just don't make me a vegan, but it's like, if someone, if there's a butcher out there who's doing things a more humane way and everyone likes it, they're going to go to him. And then what happens? All the other butcher shops, they're going to start trying to copy that, because they want to promote people coming to them, and that gives the power back to us as individual human beings to make those decisions. By the way, going back to your earlier comment, rose hips are amazing, and I've never heard of rose hip syrup, and now I have to try that.
Oh, we'll definitely give it a try.
And the oil for your face, Jason, is just amazing.
Look, do you know how long I have to spend on this face?
I know. You could speed it up if you start using rosehip oil.
Okay.
You know, instead of that hour every morning,
Mm-hmm.
it could just be 45 minutes, you know, to do all the other bits.
Yeah.
Now, George, you mentioned tarot. You do tarot cards, readings.
I do, yes.
I'll make this announcement now. If someone wants a reading and they want to come on with us to ask a question, not just a simple yes or no, but want to ask something, George will do a reading for you. Won't you?
There you go, for free.
For free, absolutely for free.
I'm joking.
So if someone wants to come on, say yes, you want to do it, send me your email address, and you can come on and we'll do this in the last 10 minutes. Just to see.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Are you all right with that?
I'm fine with that, can with that.
Okay.
Just don't pull out too many cards.
No, we'll just do a quick couple of cards to answer the question.
I'm sorry. I am caught up on Hilton's comment.
What's Hilton saying?
This is milk straight from the cow while it's still warm.
We get raw milk. We get raw milk round here.
My pal used to
really?
It's the creamiest.
What about breast milk? Have you tried that?
Milk.
Like actual human breast milk? That's like apparently
that's not really.
That's like a health fad at the moment.
It is a health fad. Yes, it is. Oh,
it is. I tried some of my friends' breast milk.
Right.
Sorry.
I know, but
yeah.
But she was like, I've known her for like 16 years, and she said to me, "Well, you'll drink the pregnant, another species pregnant lactation, but you won't drink human." And I was like, "Well, fair enough."
That's cool.
So I tried a little bit. It was very sweet.
Mm.
It is. Yeah. No, it's like cantaloupe, is what it tastes like.
Oh, so you've tried it as well, then?
I've got 3 kids. I assure you. I know what breast milk tastes like.
Yeah, you know what it tastes like.
Well, there's a farm up the road, and they have a little farm shop, and they have their own cows, and you can get raw milk straight from, not from the cow, but it comes into a. Well, I mean, it's in a machine, but you get a sterilized bottle. You can have a litre, 2 litre, however much you want. It is the creamiest. It lasts a good week. For not having anything done with it.
Does it separate?
Well, no, it didn't actually, but it doesn't last that long when I get it. Literally, I can drink tea all day with it, and it is just the most beautiful milk I've ever drunk.
I have to try that.
Oh, okay, I have to admit, Daniela, that has blown my mind more than anything else. That you can go and buy it's unpasteurized, it's straight out of the cow.
Raw.
That blows my mind. As an American, that blows my mind more than anything else. Because, man, let me tell you, if you think vegans can be radical, you wait until you tell someone you want to drink unpasteurized milk. You would have thought you would have created it is a blasphemy wrapped within an anathema, wrapped within, I don't know what else is bad. But I mean, like, it's terrible. People will be like, you're out of your mind. Like, I am fascinated by that.
Wow.
No, it really is. It's a big thing. It is like there was a couple of years. Well, I say a couple of years, probably 10 years ago now. There was a big controversy up north. Some Amish farmers they were selling unpasteurized milk, and they sold it as unpasteurized milk, and people were coming and buying it, and the government came and shut them down because they're like, you can't sell unpasteurized milk. I mean, it was a big thing. So
it is a little bit controversial. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit controversial, but lots of things are. What were they doing in the days when they didn't have those pasteurizing machines, and we were just living off the fat of the land and
dying at 45.
But, I've made it. I've actually made it. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm done. I made it past. Well, okay, so that's okay. Actually, real quick conversation, since we have a few more minutes for people to show up and send their questions. My father, and so it's weird. My father and my mother, or my wife's family, both got into naturalism and things like that. So I'm a believer in it. Like, we do oils. That's one of the reasons we do a lot of oils, was My son has certain health conditions, and so he would have, like when he had a cold, he would just his coughs would stay forever. We started using and aerosolizing that, and it just, I mean, I saw the power of it. So I'm all for it. I'm all for organic things. I'm all, getting rid of unnecessary pesticides, unnecessary chemicals, trying to do things more naturally. So I'm all for that. At the same time, I look at people who are like, I see some of these memes people use and these arguments. People's like, think back to how good things were when they were eating everything organic, and it's like we can't have any chemicals at all, or vaccines or things. And I'm like, guys, you do realize 100 years ago, everything was organic, everything was from nature, and life expectancy was pretty dang short. Like let's, there's a reason we like. Something most people realize is the reason that, like here in the United States, 65 is the age that you were supposed to retire and get government benefits, was because the average age in life expectancy was 62. You were dead for 3 years before you could collect, right? And that's because everything was organic. It's like there is a point where just because it's from nature doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. And a lot of that goes back to
what lifestyles were back then, though. What were people doing for work? What were people, what environments were people working in?
So that's a great question, and that's one of those things where if you kind of go back, you can see that certain things like hygiene, indoor plumbing, refrigeration, those three things have improved human health, but more than anything, right? But things like pasteurization, getting rid of things that diseases that can show up, and bacteria that can show up in milk. It's like, it's not all milk, but sometimes it does show up. Those kinds of things have helped, right? It's food safety is probably the better way of looking at it. There's certain things that we do for food safety that I think it's like, yeah, if you want to live without it, that's fine. I don't care. I'm more libertarian, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, it is something to do at one's caution, because there was a reason pasteurization was created. Why Louis Pasteur is seen as a hero for so many years, is because he figured out what was killing people, children, women, adults. It's like that unpasteurized milk was harming people. Now, part of it was, like you said, there was other technologies that they didn't have that we do have today. Refrigeration, vaccines. I know that's controversial. Just saying, those things, so the cow never gets sick to begin with, so the milk's never contaminated, right? So to a degree, I say it's a lot safer now, and supposedly the cheeses are even amazing, and I love cheese. So yeah, I'm all about getting unpasteurized cheese, but I'm just, it is one of those things where it's let's never take any argument so far that we lose the practical benefits of any position. Yeah.
Back to food again.
Back to food.
Back to food.
We need to stop. We should probably stop calling this anything. Anything goes, and maybe something along the lines of, "What did you eat today?"
Yeah, or any food. Any food.
Yeah, any food goes. Any food goes.
Now we've got someone on. We've got someone coming on, and it's a black tree. Hi, black tree.
Hello.
Turn your volume down on your YouTube.
Hang on 1 second.
Excellent.
Oh, bloody.
Black tree's come on for a reading.
Hi, sorry. I'm trying to figure this out. I did something wrong. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I had to exit out of YouTube in order to listen to this, and I was getting the back feed and everything, and I'm not.
It's fine. No worries. Well, thanks for coming on. Now, you had a question for George for your reading.
Yeah, I guess my question is just maybe a general reading for the next month, if so.
Well, yeah. Can you do that in a couple of cards, or 3?
Yeah. So just to not any specific questions, but just a general reading of what the cards say for the next couple of months or so. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I've got my cards now here. I'm using a deck called the Theban Tarot. So I'll just give them a little mix. And Black Tree, is that your first name?
Yes.
Okay, and where about do you live?
North Idaho, in America. Way up north.
All right. Okay. Let me just get. I'm going to take 3 cards out for you. So I've got the first one. Oh, actually, 2 came out there, so I'm going to take that one out anyway. And there's another one. So I've got 3 cards. Okay. So something I've got. The first card I've got is a fire card. We'd say like the fire element. So it's to do with actually wanting to do things and going places and physical things like that. So it's what we call the Wands card, and you've actually got someone in the suit of Wands. So this would be a knight. This is a Knight of Wands. I'm getting a feeling it's something to do with like either it could be like your partner or your son or some male figure, young male figure in your life. They're not too old, but they're kind of like it's a male figure in your life. And I think you're maybe going to do something quite soon with that person. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Have you got a male figure like that?
Yeah, well, the only male figure really in my world is my husband, and he's older than me.
Oh, right. Well, I've got that wrong. Actually, next to it, I've got the Queen of Wands. So actually, that would make sense if it was your husband. Because look, it's the king. It's a knight and a queen. But these usually you'd think it'd be a king, wouldn't you? If it was an older man. But and I would say that. Are you like stuck in your house like everybody else? You can't, get out and things like that.
A little bit, yeah. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still a little bit. We have to wear masks everywhere, and a lot of places are still not open. So.
Yeah. Well, these cards suggest to me, these 2 cards would suggest to me that I think it would be good to make plans with your husband about something that you'd like to kind of enjoy to do together. And I think also as well with these cards, I would suggest it would be something about getting out of the home. And even if it's just kind of getting out of the home to kind of go to somewhere, some hills near where you live, or to kind of do something that's kind of small that you're allowed to do, I would say that there was something in that for me that would suggest it would be good to do, like to plan something together. Like that's kind of enjoyable and a little.
Today we just went blueberry picking, so we did that together as a family. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And I remember you guys were talking about the food and it was nice to go out to a local farm and get something with your own hands for a few minutes and weigh it and understand where the food comes from and learn. Like Daniel wasn't sure that there are different breeds of blueberries. And they actually had a lot of the places cut off, so you can't go pick them because of all this stuff. But thankfully, we were able to do that still. So,
nice. What do you do with your blueberries then?
Right now, they're in the fridge. We're probably going to freeze some. How many did we get, Daniel?
4.5 pounds.
4.5 pounds for like what?
Wow.
How much was it? $13-ish.
Wow.
So it's a good price.
Nice.
We'll
Heck
probably
yeah, it
freeze
is.
them. So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
They're
absolutely.
expensive. They're expensive over here. Go on,
Yeah.
George, sorry.
So I don't know how long I've got, so I'm just trying to get through the cards.
Okay.
But you've got those two cards, and I would say because they're both suit cards and fire cards, it suggests to me that it's something to do with your family, and that you all decide that you're going to kind of do something nice, similar to the cherry, blueberries. Blueberry pickings would be an ideal thing, something like that kind of gets you at the house. It's a nice thing to do. I would suggest with that. But the third card you've got is a major arcana. And this is quite fortuitous card. I don't know if you can see it. It's not very kind of nice there, is it? It's the star card. And the star card is like, there's 3 celestial cards in the tarot card. There's tarot cards, there's the sun, the moon, and the star. The kind of sun is more about, anyway, I'll talk about the star because I don't need to know about the sun and the moon do. But the star is kind of celestial in its kind of highest sense. So when you get the star, it kind of suggests like having ideas and dreams and goals that maybe you might not think would be kind of even that achievable, but the star suggests that like actually it would be good to kind of do some higher thinking, like some kind of like actually what would be really beneficial for me and my family, or what would I really want to do, like thinking that higher way of thinking. And I suggest the star has that energy to it. It also kind of comes with a little, it's kind of fortuitous as well, so that means it kind of there's a positive energy with it as well. So yeah, you can take what you can from that, I guess. Is that helpful?
Okay, thank you. That is. Thank you so very much. I'm glad that I was able to have it available to me. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, so it's just a wee quick one with the 3 cards, and I hope that gave some kind of insight to something. But I'll tell you the cards again just to finish. It was the Queen, so you can look them up and find your own meaning as well. It was the Queen of Wands.
Okay.
It was the King of Wands. So they're both wand cards, both fire cards. Sorry, there's not the King, the Queen and the Knight. The Queen and the Knight of Wands. And then the last one is a bit more kind of powerful and important because it's a major arcana card, and it is the Star.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
There you go. Are you happy with that?
Yes, it was great. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
You too. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye. Oh, well, that was good.
Man, I've
Put me
been
on the
reading
spot
the
there a wee
comments.
bit, Daniela, but hey.
Yeah, I've been reading the comments. Now all I want are blueberry muffins, and those are not on my diet.
Oh, no. Can you not make them with coconut flour or peanut flour?
I'm really trying to get off grains entirely, so
Okay.
it's not. Yeah, there's no good equivalent. It's like blueberries and meat. It's just not a thing you can do.
Blueberry bacon. What's going on there?
I don't know.
Blueberry bacon.
I have no idea. Okay.
That's a weird one. Not heard of that one before. But yeah, bacon and blueberries, that's all I can see as well.
Mm-hmm.
No questions for George, just blueberries and bacon.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
No,
I'm happy to know what people are eating.
Yeah, well, we've inspired a lot of food things again tonight. It's been fun. So,
thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. We've talked before, haven't we, about you coming on and having something to talk about, and I know you've loads to talk about and
loads to gas about.
Loads and loads.
Loads of rubbish to talk about.
Well, I've got a question here, Julie Morton. George, what kind of dance do you do?
Oh, modern dance, like contemporary dance, so like dance theatre at the moment, that kind of thing.
You do have a website, a YouTube channel. There's a bit on it, isn't there? But you're on Facebook now.
Yeah, I think I do. I think the company has a
company on Facebook, LPM.
LPM Dance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a link up in the description or something to that if you want to just come and check you out and see what you and Helen do. If you're watching, Helen, hello. Yeah, I'll put that up. I'll put that up now, and then be interested.
We do a lot for the community. So, like I said, we do a lot with dance and Parkinson's classes for older people, and a lot of integral community and social work. Because I guess that's part of the arts here. You know, the arts are funded by a branch of the government after the Second World War.
Yeah.
And so part of your entailment of receiving funds is that you give back to society. And not everyone does that, but that's kind of, it feels like it's right because the funds are coming from taxpayers' money. So yeah, we kind of fill the social care gap as well.
Which is much needed, isn't it? Don't know about in America how the social care system is, but it seems like a lot of people aren't getting what they need. You know, the resources are just not there for people, and
it's complicated. I'm going to say that that's one of those problems where I think it's far more often created by politicians, quote unquote, trying to fix things than anything else. Because honestly, it's one of those things where, you know, without going too much into history, I've been around. I've seen you can get just about anything you want. Like it's again, now it's a little bit different. The problem is though, oftentimes how the system isn't designed to get people necessarily out of poverty. And so the problem is if you're really trying to get out of poverty or then it actually seems to shut you down and cut you out. So you have to sort of conform to something that's actually lends itself to you becoming more impoverished than anything. It's a complicated and in-depth issue, but I like the idea that it's like if you're going to take taxpayers' money, you better be giving back to the community one way or the other. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
well, art's important. I think in the world, there's not many of us who get to say what we want on stage or do what we like, and in any country we can pretty much say what we want and do what we want, which is a blessing and a liberty actually to be able to do that as an artist. Yeah. So I try to make sure that as well as what we kind of present on stage or on screen, that we also kind of are part of the community, because that's kind of, for me, that's very important. So,
well, good for you. And,
oh yes,
I know that you do.
Yes, it's all lovely stuff.
Well, look, we've come to the end of our hour. BPD, we'll have George back on again, and we'll have George back on again and do some more tarot readings or something like that one night if you fancy it. I'm sure some people will.
Like a mystical shawl on.
Yes.
Yeah, make it look a bit
your
more.
turban. So thank you again, George.
Thank you guys for having me on, and thank you to everybody who's watching on things and YouTube and that. It's lovely to do this, and so thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. It was wonderful. George, pleasure meeting you. Great. Hope to have you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So I'll be over on the Researchers Report on Wednesday, and then here on Hidden Existence on Saturday night, I will be here with Jay Birch and Mr. Ron Moorhead to talk Sierra Sounds and whatever else is out there. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the mods and everything. Just everyone for being here. I'm nearly at 2,000 subs, so I'm actually really amazed, and that I've got there to 2,000. That's a lot, and it's all thanks to you guys that support me. So everyone, have a good week, and I'll see you on the next time. Bye.